The city of Gray Ridge looked peaceful that morning, the kind of calm that hides a storm. Birds chirped, cars hummed, and somewhere in a modest neighborhood, a father tied his son's tie. David Cole, a former Marine, had lived his life by discipline, honesty, and faith. He raised his son Ethan alone after losing his wife to cancer. Their bond was simple, unspoken but deep. Ethan was 17, bright, and full of that youthful optimism David quietly envied. "Dad," Ethan said, adjusting his collar, "you ever regret leaving the service?" David chuckled. "Sometimes, but I've got more reason to stay now." He patted his son's shoulder. "Go easy out there, son. The world's not always kind." Those words would haunt him later. Ethan left home to meet friends. He wore a gray hoodie, headphones in, hands in his pocket, nothing out of the ordinary. But fate had a cruel sense of timing. Two officers in a black and white cruiser slowed as they passed him. "Hey," one muttered, "that's our guy. Matches the description." They'd been looking for a suspect in a nearby phone store robbery, a suspect wearing a hoodie. That was all it took. The officers jumped out. "Hands where I can see them!" Ethan froze, startled. "What? I didn't do—" Before he could finish, one officer shoved him against the wall. A crowd started forming. Phones came out. But then the officers noticed. "Put the damn phones away!" one shouted. They grabbed Ethan harder. He struggled, scared, not resisting, but human instinct kicked in. And then came the first blow. A baton. A crack. A scream. Within seconds, Ethan was on the ground, blood pooling beneath his head. When it was over, one of the officers muttered, "He moved too fast." The other said, "Write it up as resisting arrest." They didn't know someone kept recording. Hidden behind a car, a young woman had captured the whole thing. The phone rang at 11:23 p.m. David answered groggily. "Mr. Cole, this is St. Mary's Hospital. Your son's been in an incident. You need to come immediately." The words dropped like ice into his veins. He raced through the rain, barely seeing the road. When he burst into the emergency ward, a nurse guided him wordlessly to a bed. There lay Ethan, bruised, swollen, tubes running from his nose and mouth. Machines beeped steadily, the only proof of life. David fell to his knees. "What happened to my boy?" he cried. The nurse hesitated. "Sir, it was the police." For a long moment, there was silence, that heavy, suffocating kind that only comes before a storm of grief. David walked in with a calmness that fooled even himself. "I'm here to speak to whoever was involved in my son's arrest." The desk officer looked up lazily. "Sir, if your son was arrested, you'll have to wait until he's released or charged." David's jaw tightened. "He's not being released. He's in a coma." The officer stiffened slightly. "Then you should speak to Internal Affairs. They'll look into it." But as David turned to leave, he caught two officers whispering, "Man, that's the kid from last night. Guess he shouldn't have run." They laughed quietly. David froze, his fists clenched, but he said nothing. Not yet. Days passed. Ethan didn't wake up. David never left the hospital. He sat by the bed, reading his Bible, whispering prayers, talking to his son as though he could hear. "You remember that time you fell off your bike?" he said softly. "You got up so fast, laughing through the pain. You're gonna do that again, son. You hear me?" A nurse wiped her eyes quietly behind the curtain. The story started spreading online. Teen beaten by police during mistaken identity. But within hours, the official statement came out. Suspect resisted arrest. Officers acted in self-defense. Body cam footage? Unavailable due to technical malfunction. Every door David knocked on was closed. Every request for answers vanished into bureaucracy. The officers involved, Sergeant Miles and Officer Kent, were still on duty. On the seventh night, David stood at the window of his small apartment. Rain fell again, soft but relentless. He looked at Ethan's picture on the wall. Something inside him snapped, not in rage, but in resolve. He picked up his phone and called a number written on a sticky note. Maya Lewis, investigative reporter. Maya, you don't know me, but I have a story you need to hear. They met at a coffee shop near the hospital. Maya was young, sharp-eyed, and known for exposing city corruption. I've seen cases like this, but if you want justice, we need proof. David sighed. They say the body cams malfunctioned. Maya raised an eyebrow. All of them? She slid her tablet across the table, showing him something. A still frame from a blurry video. Ethan on the ground, 2 officers above him. This was posted anonymously last night, but it's incomplete. Someone deleted the rest. David leaned forward. Can you find who recorded it? Maya nodded slowly. Already working on it. Late that night, as David prayed beside Ethan, a man in plain clothes appeared at the door. Mr. Cole. David turned. Yes? The man looked nervous. My name is Detective Ramos. I can't stay long. He stepped closer. You didn't hear this from me, but the footage still exists. David froze. Where? Ramos looked around, then whispered, It's in the precinct server, encrypted, labeled under a fake date. But if you try to access it, they'll know. Why are you telling me this? David asked. Ramos hesitated. Because I was there that night. David's eyes hardened. You're one of them? Ramos swallowed hard. No, I arrived late, but I saw what they did, and I've been ordered to stay quiet. He slipped a USB drive on the table. This has metadata from the cameras, enough to prove a cover-up. I can't do more without losing my job. Then he turned and left, disappearing down the hall. The next morning, the hospital TV showed the same headline on every channel. Police brutality case under investigation. A shaky video played. The one Maya had found, now fully restored. It showed everything. The beating, the panic, the cover-up. Social media exploded. Hashtags, protests, news vans outside the hospital. But the department denied it all. They called it edited footage, a smear campaign. David watched silently, then whispered to his unconscious son, They can lie to the world, but not to me. Not anymore. Maya rushed into the hospital the next day. David, listen. The department is trying to trace the leak. Whoever sent that video is in danger. David looked up. Detective Ramos. Maya nodded grimly. If he's caught, he's finished. Maybe worse. David exhaled, a slow breath of grief and determination. Then we get to him first. That night, David returned home and opened his old Marine locker. Inside were medals, letters, and a worn photo of Ethan as a child holding a toy police badge. He stared at it for a long time. Then he whispered, You taught me to protect the weak, Lord. Now I know why. He closed the locker, eyes filled with quiet fire. The next morning, he and Maya would begin a mission that would shake the whole city and expose the kind of truth that powerful men feared most. If you're still watching, do well to click on the like and subscription button now to help others see this story.
The next morning, Maya analyzed the files. Her eyes widened.
"This is it," she said. "This proves it all. The cover-up, the orders, everything." David stared at the screen, at the names listed: Harris, Monroe, and Ramos. His face darkened. Why is his name here too? Maya clicked open one more file. It was a body cam clip, time-stamped 7:42 p.m., the moment of the beating. Ramos's voice could be heard shouting, "Enough! Stop! He's just a kid!" But another voice, Harris, barked, "You're either with us or against us." Then the camera tilted, and the footage cut. Maya whispered, "He tried to stop them." David sat back, silent. For the first time, he felt something unexpected: doubt. They couldn't go public yet. The evidence needed validation. Maya arranged a meeting with a federal journalist willing to take the story national. "Tomorrow night, 9 p.m., we drop everything online. Videos, documents, all of it." David nodded, his voice steady but cold. "If they think they can silence me, they'll have to try harder." At 3 a.m., David's front door shattered. Armed men stormed in, plainclothes officers sent by Monroe. David barely escaped through the back window, sprinting into the woods as bullets tore through the night air. He hid in an abandoned cabin until dawn. His phone buzzed, a message from Maya. "They got to me. They took my laptop. I'm hiding." David typed back, "Don't stop. We finish this tonight." Later that day, Chief Monroe held a press conference claiming David was a grieving father spreading misinformation. On TV, David watched the lies unfold. He turned to Maya on a video call. "They're painting me as a criminal." Maya replied, "Then let's make them see the real criminals." As David prepared to release the files, the hospital called again. Ethan had regained consciousness. David raced to the ICU, tears of relief filling his eyes. When he entered, Ethan was awake, but weak. "Dad," he whispered, "they didn't mean to. One of them tried to help me." David froze. "Who?" Ethan blinked slowly. "The one with the scar by his eye." David's heart sank. Ramos. That night, David sat in his car outside Ramos's apartment. Ramos stepped out of the building, startled to see him. "You helped my boy," David said quietly. Ramos nodded. "I tried, but I failed him." David clenched his fists. "You were part of it." He admitted, "I was. I froze. I didn't stop it soon enough." Silence. Two fathers standing under the same streetlight, both broken in different ways. Ramos said, "If you release that footage, Monroe will destroy both of us. He's got people in every department." David stared at him. "Then we destroy him first." David and Maya met in an abandoned newsroom. With trembling hands, Maya connected to the encrypted server. David placed the USB on the table. "Once this goes live, there's no going back." Maya nodded. "Then let's end this." She hit upload. Within minutes, the files went viral. Body cam footage, documents, text logs, voice recordings. The truth spread faster than they imagined. By dawn, the city was in chaos. News anchors reported mass protest outside the precinct. Chief Monroe was suspended. Officer Harris fled. And Ramos? He turned himself in, confessing to everything on live TV. "I was there, and I let it happen. I'm done hiding." David watched from the hospital, holding Ethan's hand. For the first time in weeks, he felt peace. A week later, Maya visited David at the hospital. "The city's calling you a hero," she said. David smiled faintly. "I'm not a hero. I just did what any father would do." Maya looked down. "You know, Ramos didn't make it. He was found dead in his cell last night." David's heart sank. They silenced him. Maya nodded, but his confession changed everything. David turned to the window, watching the sunrise. "Maybe that's what justice looks like," he whispered. "Not perfect, but enough to start change." The news would call it the coal scandal. But for David, it wasn't about headlines. It was about a father who refused to let his son's silence be forgotten. Ethan recovered slowly, and the city began to heal. David visited Ramos's grave one final time. "You weren't my enemy," he said softly. "You were my mirror." He placed a single flower on the headstone. Then he walked away, not as a victim, not as an avenger, but as a man who proved one thing. You can't kill the truth. You can only delay it. Thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscription button for more amazing